Today we're in conversation with Gavin Rudd of Smart Kitchen Facelifts, learning not only about the benefits of a kitchen facelift over a renovation, but also his amazing story and development of skills and experience which he now brings to every kitchen he works on. Okay, Gav, you are the kitchen guy, and your story starts all the way back in high school. You finish high school. What are your first few steps?
Well, I was quite young. I was 15 when I left. I thought I was going to go on to year 11 and 12, but school wasn't for me. I was a little bit too creative for school. So I left school on a whim, and what I did was, my parents said, if you don't get a job, you have to go to year 11 and 12. So I didn't like school that much. So I really I didn't know it at the time, but I prospected and knocked on doors to get a job, and I got a pre-apprenticeship course, which was a 12-month mating course, which was an overview of the construction industry. And that gave me a good grounding. It gave me experience in building, tiling, electrical, plumbing, roofing, and the last block was cabinet making, shop fitting, which is the kitchen stuff. That closed the year off. Yep. And so that's where I started. So I did that, went straight into that after school, and then that saw me through right to the end. And a couple of things happened at the end that were quite pivotal that led me into an apprenticeship, because at the time parents were actually paying employers to have their sons be an apprentice and for them to be taken on. So I was very lucky. I was very lucky to find someone to employ me.
Now, what is it about the trades and learning a craft and working with your hands that from such a young age at 15 really engaged you?
I think being creative, so I was always into arts and things. I've had this, it allowed me to express myself. I think that was it. And this sense of, and again, being so young, I didn't know what it was, but it's this sense of this rewarding experience. And when you create something and then you stand back and you've done something that from nothing, you've created something from nothing, or you've solved a problem that was once broken, or someone comes to you and it was that sense of creating something from nothing, really. I think that was quite cool when you get a whole bunch of blocks of timber on the workshop bench and the teacher comes over with a loose sketch, and then 3 weeks later it's like a bookshelf, that was kind of appealing to me, and all the numbers in school didn't really ring true, and so I sort of headed in that direction, and I had a very strong gut sensation that was the right way to go. Yeah. At the time.
Now, you told me a very cute and a very funny story earlier.
Yeah.
About you as a tradesman when you were 4?
4, yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I was actually, 3 or 4. My parents had an old fibro home and they were bricking it. And the builder on site used to leave his nail bag down. And a 3-year-old, I used to pick up his nail bag with the hammer, and obviously being 3, the hammer was scraping along the floor. And I used to go around the front of the house and knock on the front door, and Mum used to open the door and he used to look up at her, like that must have been as the sight. And I used to say, "Got any jobs, lady?" And I used to have a block of timber in my hand and like the hammer and the nail bag. So I don't know, maybe I was just destined to do something with wood, maybe, I don't know. But that would have been hilarious.
So the passion to create and serve other people.
Help
other people. The passion in you was there.
Something made me. I actually picked up a house brick on our building site, and Mum saw it. I was in the front yard apparently. Obviously, I don't remember this. I picked up the house brick, and I turned to Mum like, "Look how cool!" And Mum screamed, and I must have got startled. I dropped the house brick on my toe, and skip forward 15 years. It was a problem when I was playing competition tennis because I had this. My toe was all. But 3-year-old picking up a house brick, for God's sake. Who does that,
It was almost something...
So, building site, yes.
Yeah. And that's, the building site is Gav's natural place, natural
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I also think always impresses me, and I've been to a lot of the kitchens that you've built, is how they look. Like, your kitchens are not only built amazingly solidly, there's not only always a great warmth for the homeowners and the person whose kitchen you're renovating, for not only yourself but for your contractors as well, for the guys who work for you, because they're very diligent, they care about what they're doing, they're very respectful of the home and the homeowners. But getting back to it, you've got that amazing vision. You can see the colours. You can see how all that goes together. Where does that come from? Is that something you always pursued as a child?
You know, I always had that. And I had an art teacher once that told my mother in high school, put him in an art class. And I never pursued that, with the teenage years and the trials and tribulations that one goes through. I never pursued that, but I had enough to get by. That's for others to judge. I used to be, people used to comment on that, but I can't, it's hard for me to take kind of that sort of stuff as, when someone says you're okay. So I got to a point and actually went to Cocoa Republic Design School and then saw that through. Wow. And actually did some extra training. In fact, I was so grateful. It was an amazing experience that, because at the end of the class, I was talking to the teacher, we got chatting, and she said, wow, yeah, you actually had she didn't realise I was a tradesman and what I'd done. She goes, one of our teachers is actually leaving us short, and we've got a couple of classes that we actually need to teach you for. Would you be a guest teacher?
Wow.
Yeah, and I stepped straight into the following week, I think it was like the next week. Yep. So I was doing the class, and then all of a sudden I was offered a guest spot, and I was talking on the kitchen process and what happens with the stone bench tops and the actual process of signing up a kitchen, and then the lead times and how it gets scheduled, and then what happens on site. So I was talking to the class about that. So I actually did that at Cocoa Republic. I couldn't believe it. So one week I was a student, and the following week I was a guest speaker.
But you must have just
had
that natural
it's amazing.
passion that I think is so important in making anything look good. To actually just study in a way where it wasn't just books and figures and numbers, but it was something you really wanted to master. So I've stayed up all night putting tile colours together. Yeah. Yeah, for no commercial gain. So when you do that, I think you're onto something. I think it comes from your gut, and then when you create with a client, that sense of, I think that client picks up that you're not happy. Until you're happy, the job's not at that level yet. Like, they might be going, it looks great, it's fine, but until you go, no, I've got to bring it, there's something else there that we need to cover off. And then when they see that little bit extra and it comes together, like we did this herringbone blue splashback for a lady in Oyster Bay recently. That's beautiful.
Really nice. They were happy at a particular point, but then I knew there was a particular pastel blue out there which I'd seen at a tile shop that I had a relationship with for nearly 10 years now, and I knew that tile existed, and I just waited on an extra sample, boom, it looked fantastic, and that's the difference, I think that just I guess it's the passion of, and I don't know where that comes from.
Because I love also your attention to detail with colour and design.
Yeah.
Because what was that beautiful kitchen in Turramurra? Or was it Turramurra?
It was Linfield.
Beautiful kitchen in Linfield.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the black?
That was Black Caviar by Dulux.
Amazing. Like the way that made the contrast of the kitchen pop with the white bench tops. And I was like, this is something a lot extra. This is something that you see when you're in somewhere on the Upper East Side in New York.
Well, it had depth, because black's a primary colour, it's real flat.
Yep.
But this colour had depth, like you could see into it. It told a story.
Yeah.
And had a lot of warmth, which brought the outside inside and make that bench top really pop. So there's the black's really, it's a tricky colour to work with. You've got to get the right tint. But that was just one example again where it come off. Yeah,
Linfield kitchen.
And you need a sample too. You can't move forward like that with a job that size without a sample and proofing it, because people choose samples in a showroom that's lit like a Christmas tree, but then when they get that home, colours look darker on a vertical surface, and by the time you have all your shadowing, bounce light off that colour, it takes on a life of its own. So you need a sample in your own home to really cover that off. And again, companies don't normally do that. Generally kitchen companies don't do that, and especially handyman or makeover companies wouldn't go to really that sort of extent. But that's not the thing.
SKF
Well,
does.
it's not just that. It's the customer can be happy. They shake your hand. They go, "Job well done." They pay you, and then you leave. And then 3 months later, they have a barbecue at that house, and they get a lot of people over there. There could be an artist, it could be another tradesman that walks in, and you get another critical eye that looks over your job, and then, oh, you got a kitchen done, great. Are you happy? Yeah, we're happy. Oh, okay. And now they had a chance to live with it. And I had a tech teacher say to me, I never forgot this. I was 17. I was a TAFE teacher, actually. He said, Gavin, anyone can make a kitchen look shiny, bright, and new and flashy, but not everyone can make it work, function as well as look good.
Yep.
And what happens after that 3-month mark, people live with that room. And if it's not ergonomically working as well as looking good and holding up, then that first barbecue, so to speak, then they go, you know what, it's great, but.
Yeah.
And it's that but. And I said that to a client once. I said, I don't want you to say that but.
Yeah.
After I'm gone, it's that glowing recommendation to someone else. So most marketing doesn't work. It's that, I don't want that but. I think that's what I work real hard for.
Fighting for.
Just that last little, I don't want the but. Yeah.
But a lot of that, I think, so we've looked at, obviously, because you've now been in trades for over 25 years, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been a twisty road. 25
years.
I've followed it all the way through, yeah.
You've got a deep passion for the look and the design, and now we're getting onto ergonomics and how people actually use their kitchens, which I find amazing. And once more, I've met a number of the people whose kitchens you've amazing faces to.
Yeah.
And they're all happy. And I think one of the things that they also said is that you listen. You listen to what they're really wanting. So what is it that drives you? So we've learned a little bit about the craft itself, the building, and how that goes back to when you were 3, which is amazing. The love for the aesthetics and for the design and colour, and your almost hunger to get that and fight for that right colour for a client. But then actually serving, it's not something everybody has, to really care for the client. Where does that come from? What's your mind game when it comes to clients?
Wow, that's a good question. I think maybe my father was a sales representative, a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I think hearing a lot of the sales, customer service stuff across the kitchen table maybe rubbed off at a subconscious level, maybe. I think my personality, a combination of just that and what I experienced, I think at home with that, with the value set of a really early age. I think people are, I've got to be careful with this and saying this, but I think some people are born to have that level of customer service and care. Yeah. I know sales people aren't born. You've got to be really careful about that. And you hear them dying, but you don't hear them, a salesperson was born in Manly and, on the 5th. But you hear them dying, but you don't hear them being born. Yeah. But there's something in their personality, people are kind of more that way. And I think, I'll tell you a quick story. I'd worked my way through. I was actually a kitchen designer in a showroom that I was actually on the tools there for once. I worked my way up, and I was in the showroom. Yep. And I was out the front, and I walked through the showroom, and there was another female designer talking to an elderly woman that kind of looked like my nan, and my nan had passed away by that stage, and I was very close to my nan. And I walked through, and the woman was saying, "Love, tell me about this door again." And the designer looked at me, and I could tell that the older woman wasn't looking at the designer, and she looked at me as I was walking past, and she rolled her eyes like that, like, this is hard work, this old lady. And I went at the back, I had tears in my eyes. Just thinking about it, I had tears in my eyes, like thinking about it now. And I think, this elderly lady just wanted to buy a kitchen, and you think, why would you do that, And that affected me. Like I was 27. I remember where I was at the time. I was 27, and I just thought, number one, I felt like she was my grandmother, kind of thing. Yep. And I've seen her come in and toddle around, and she was going to buy something. She was only one of those people that only go to one place, Yep. And you think, man, look after the person. Look after him. Look after him, and do what you can after hours. Drop a sample over. Like, you got to look after people. So and I think, that service to me, and I think I think that kind of sort of sums up,
I find it interesting that you said that this older lady just wanting to buy a kitchen reminds you of your grandmother, because I remember talking to somebody when I was working with one of the airlines, doing some films with them, and I asked, what was the mind game of a good air hostess, or a good air steward? Because it could be a 14-hour trip, or whatever.
Yeah, that's tough.
Be. So how do you stay on point? Everyone's got a good mind game if they're at the top of the tree. And this lady said, this air hostess, and she says, treat everybody like they're your grandmother. And she said,
Really?
What's her mind frame? She's looking down at someone, they're a 35-year-old sort of confident businessman.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Grandmother.
That's good advice.
12-year-old complaining that there's no batteries in their video game, grandmother. And it just gives them that half second or whatever of just contemplation before she serves them, regardless of what's going on. And I think a lot of people who are at the top of their game reframe their customers to realise that they're human beings. They might be a bit rushed, they might be a bit busy, but they're going to be paying the money that pays for your
That's right.
food and everything else, and that's worthy of respect. And also, I think, and you've touched upon this, like just the joy you get in making something that works, something that looks beautiful, and something at that magical first barbecue or party. You know, the kitchen's always the lifeblood of a party. It just is. You know, everyone gathers around.
Yeah.
And that time where someone, it must feel amazing for them to walk into their kitchen that you've done.
I've just finished a kitchen, and I was referred to a work colleague of this guy.
Yeah.
Actually, the Linfield kitchen that you saw. And I called, so I got the other job, very grateful for that, and I called him to let him know of the installation day, and he said, I'm just here with Josh, the other customer that I'd done, and we're in the hotel. I said, oh, I'll let you go. He goes, no, we're just talking about Gavin's joinery, and so they're talking about me, like, yeah, they said, no, all good things. They said, we're just singing your praises. And I'm like, wow. Here's two guys in a hotel talking about me, about how good the job is, how good the kitchen is, and I thought, okay, works. yeah, and that's just because you're just going above and beyond. But yeah, I thought, how cool is that? I mean, that's because that's marketing right there. But I mean, how cool is that? You don't set out for that, but when it happens, you're like, that's cool.
That doesn't exist in any, like, you can't write that down.
No,
that's true.
Well, I've never heard of that happening. So that's cool.
Now, great background, people you consider. The design and look you consider, the quality of the build you consider with that amazing 25-year background. Yeah. You've now got your own company. So tell us about your company, why it's called what it's called, and what the ethos of your company is. What's it all about? Well, it's a very satisfying thing to run your own show.
It is, and like everything, it evolves. So I started in a workshop when I was 19, and an ex-girlfriend, I used to share a home. Well, I lived with an ex-girlfriend, and started in her garage. Okay, so I had my little thing. And then when I was on the eve of my 22nd birthday, thought I could do this. And I actually worked in an exhibition company for 2 years, which actually gave me tremendous grounding to do curve work and light boxes, which helped me later on. And that was my first real factory. I had that for about 5 years. And I was doing facelifts a lot of the time because a lot of people didn't trust me with the big jobs. I was only 22, 23, walking in shorts, King G's. And so, I mean... And then the next stage was when the GFC happened, and I had another go, and the market wasn't right, and so it's evolved. And having my own business means I can bring all my experience and because I had such a passion for designing, the designing took me away from the factory. And I needed that to give myself that background and that contrast, that disconnection between the two, because a lot of builders, they build from the ground up, but designers, they tend to sort of build isometrically and look at things and they don't know the ins and outs of things. Yeah. So when I was working exhibition, like trade shows, Darling Harbour, curve work, gift fairs, things like that, what we do is we used to draw templates on the floor and just shapes, and then build up from the shape and do 2x1 templates and then actually build the curves off the floor. Wow. So we did that, and I did that, and I think a lot of the jobs that I've got now are because other people can't do them, or they're not qualified, they're not licensed, they come in, they probably used to sell suits before kitchens, or worked in pharmacies, or whatever the case may be, but they don't have the background. To be a licensed tradesperson with a designing eye and able to articulate that, someone's needs, ask the right questions and then put all the pieces together, it's a game I've worked on for a long time, and I've worked in a lot of top designing teams and sales teams, which I don't like because they're not about designing and really helping people. They're commercially focused. Yep. But designing teams, I've worked in both. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it takes a long time. I'm 43. It takes a long time. I had my first business at 22 to mature and really find the right solution for that particular client. And they say listening, but you really need to have that depth behind you, that body of work, and go through the scrapes to be able to go, okay, that happened there. Now, if I ask that question, this is what they need, and then you sculpt something that works. And a lot of the time, it used to take hours to come up with a solution, and then after a while, you can come up with something in 10 to 15 minutes because you've gone through hell, basically. You've gone through 25 years of working it out. You know, instead of going away, thinking about it, coming back, showing the client, doing a couple of revisions, you can actually get to a point where you can come up with a reasonable first draft within 10 to 15 minutes. It takes 25 years to get that fast, I say, but I think you'll learn a critical eye. You have talent when you're younger, but then you're able to control that when you get older. And I think having a business enables you to put the two together, being creative, and being able to see that through with the customer service side, which really is me, and I'm able to put the two together. You know, the back end, the trade, and then the front. And I think there's no other business that I really found that I could subscribe to. There was no one I could believe in enough. I think to know how to put something together, it takes, I think, the right time, really, to really be able to put something together the right way. Yeah, I think just to make it work.
Does work, you know.
But yeah,
smart kitchen facelifts.
Yeah, that's right.
So a good way to do it. Now, why would you want a kitchen facelift? What is a kitchen facelift? Tell me, a lot of people might not understand what that means. What is a kitchen facelift?
So a kitchen facelift is keeping your existing carcasses or your existing bones of the kitchen, and then you resurface or reface. See, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can resurface your existing products and repaint them and recoat them, or you can replace just the doors only and replace the hinges and the doors and the bench tops, and you keep the same pattern, footprint of the kitchen, and then you revamp that. So you get new doors, bench tops, splashback, change the lights, and essentially there's no floor repairs that doesn't come into play. The walls, the painting, the cornices, that's sort of left intact, and it saves a lot of money. It's faster. It saves a lot of money because there's the floor, the painting and things aren't being touched, and the actual crux of everything, pulling everything out, the disconnect and reconnect of all the other trades, being the plumbing, the electrical, all that sort of stuff, and the tiling, sometimes are avoided. And so that's where the cost saving comes in, and the turnaround time's a lot faster.
Now, what we're talking time and money being saved. Can you give us a percentage? Like how much quicker is a smart kitchen facelift kitchen?
Well, an average kitchen's 4 to 5 weeks to turn around. That's the whole deal. And a facelift can be 3 to 4 days. So it's just night and day.
So you're talking about a smart kitchen facelift can take.
But you have to remember, I was doing this at 22. I was doing facelifts at 22. And I was doing everything. And I was re-laminating kitchen bench tops in the customer's home, which they don't do these days because years ago there was redback laminate and it was square and you could just simply re-laminate. Whereas they don't sell that a lot now, and a lot of the old places are still all. I mean, they're all around.
It just really surprises me how quick. So within 1 week, someone really can have a new kitchen.
If you start, that's right. If you start on the Monday. You
start on a Monday, finished on Friday.
Finished on Friday, and finished on Friday, adjusted, cleaned, polished, and put the handles on Saturday morning, and you're done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, normal kitchen 4 to 5 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks.
What of your smart kitchen facelifts? 4 to 5 days.
That's right.
Wow. Okay. Now let's talk money. How much we're talking ballpark figures here. I know that you could spend $500,000 on a kitchen, and I'm sure people.
You can. Yeah.
What's a rough ballpark figure for a well done kitchen renovation? Rough ballpark.
A rough ballpark for a decent kitchen renovation, like a complete. We're starting at 35,000 about. That's about average.
Starting, let's say 50 grand.
Yeah.
Okay, 50 grand is a good number.
There's a lot of the Housing Industry Association starts at 17.5, but they don't include appliances and all the trades to reconnect. And by the time you do the painting and the bits and pieces,
it's 35 to 50.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much for a smart kitchen facelift?
What's it start from?
What kind of ballpark figure are we talking?
We start from just under 4,000, so 3,995 it starts from, and the sweet spot is around 9.5 to 12.
God, so for the price, less than the price of a holiday in Australia.
Less than that.
Way less.
Way less than that. Considering what it puts in value on your home.
What
So-
would be that? So if you're getting a smart kitchen
Yeah.
kitchen facelift,
Kitchen facelift.
you're getting one for, let's say, 7,000 or 10,000, right? Let's make it 10,000.
Yep.
Okay, so you put 10,000 in your kitchen, 5 days, right? Which isn't a nice little amount of time to be
Yeah.
out and doing takeaway or Uber Eats for that time. So
Yep.
only 5 days. How much $10,000 in 5 days? What's it going to add to the?
Well, I can actually tell you because I just done one. I just done an apartment, and I know the real estate agent quite closely because we work together a lot with work.
Yeah.
And it was an apartment. It was $750. The lady spent $6,500 with me. They
Yeah.
sold it for $870. It's $110,000. She spent $6,000. I couldn't find anyone that had the ethical standing to just simply design something and create something for the client and do right by someone. That's why I have my own business, essentially.
And
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
You keep getting again and again, and I've met your clients. You know,
Yeah, I've met a few, yeah, you've met a
been in
few.
their house, they've made me coffee when we've been
They have,
filming
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And they are, I can see the look on their
Yeah.
body language, they're pleased with what you do.
Mm.
Gav, well,
I'm fortunate
Wow.
to have lovely clients. It's
yeah, but that's because
Very
you
humble.
look after them. You absolutely look after them. Well, Gav, it's
very
been
grateful.
a fantastic half hour to just learn about what you do. To
Thank
know
you.
there's still people out there, there's still tradesmen, there's still small business
Mm.
companies that are just making, just really giving people a wow factor to what they
Mm.
deliver. And that's it. The Smart Kitchen Facelift Kitchen is an amazing experience. So, awesome.
Thank you.
for your time, Gav.
Thanks for your time, John.